In June 2011, a team of Swedish treasure hunters found something on the Baltic seafloor that shouldn't be there. A perfect circle, 200 feet across, with straight edges and what looked like a staircase leading up to it. One sonar image made it look exactly like a crashed spaceship. Scientists have spent over a decade trying to explain it away. Some stories were never meant to be found. Peter Lindberg and Dennis Osberg ran Ocean X Team, a small Swedish outfit that spent years quietly searching the Baltic Sea for lost shipwrecks, sunken cargo, and old maritime mysteries, the kind of work that rarely made international news. 9 days into an expedition in the Gulf of Bothnia, tired, low on fuel, and heading home, they decided to run their sonar fish for one last sweep over the seafloor before calling the trip finished. That last sweep, almost an afterthought, caught something at roughly 300 feet down that didn't match any wreck, reef, or rock formation they'd ever mapped in years of doing this. The sonar image showed a massive circular disk, nearly 60 meters wide, resting on the seabed, bigger than a football field, and almost perfectly round, with an outline too clean to be an accident of nature. Straight edges, right angles, a raised section that looked unmistakably like a staircase, each step roughly a meter high, climbing toward the center of the disk like it had been built to be walked on. Lindberg himself said it looked less like a rock formation and more like something built by hand or by machine. Some on the team wondered, only half joking at first, whether they'd stumbled onto a crashed aircraft, a secret installation, or something stranger. But the strangest part of this story wasn't what showed up on the sonar that first day. It was what happened when they went back to look closer. On a return dive, the team reported their equipment behaving strangely near the site. Cameras, satellite phones, and electronics that Lindberg later said stopped working properly the closer they got, then worked fine again once they pulled away. Divers located 2 openings near the top of the structure, a small one barely a foot across, and a larger one, roughly 2 meters wide, ringed by what looked like a deliberate square frame rather than a natural crack. The story went global almost overnight, picked up by newspapers, radio, and television across dozens of countries. Tabloids ran it as a sunken UFO. Lindberg himself floated the idea, in more than one interview, that they might have found the lost city of Atlantis. To settle it, Ocean X brought rock samples up from the site and sent them out for independent analysis, a real scientific test, finally, of whatever this thing actually was instead of just speculation. But the answer that came back wasn't the one that made headlines. Volker Bruchert, a geologist at Stockholm University, examined the samples closely. Most of it, he found, was ordinary granite, gneiss, and sandstone, common rock found all over the region. Nothing artificial or unusual about the material itself. Tabloids had already run quotes implying Bruchert backed the mystery interpretation. He later said, plainly and on record, that no one had even contacted him before publishing that. His conclusion, and the broader scientific consensus since, was that the formation is natural, shaped by the same glacial and post-glacial processes that carved and deposited material across the entire northern Baltic seabed thousands of years ago. The glacial explanation accounts for a great deal: the common rock types, the region's well-documented history of Ice Age deposits, and even a stray piece of basalt that's unusual but not unheard of in material carried and dropped by retreating glaciers. It doesn't fully explain the straight edges and right angles the original sonar recorded. Features that natural erosion and glacial scraping don't typically produce this cleanly or this symmetrically in a single formation. And over a decade later, no full 3-dimensional scan of the site, the kind of survey that could genuinely settle this once and for all, has ever been made public. What exists is a handful of single sonar images, some rock samples, and the first-hand accounts of the people who found it. Some stories were never meant to be found. This one is sitting in plain sight, 300 feet down, fully accessible to modern equipment, and still hasn't been properly resurveyed by anyone outside the team that discovered it. Tell me in the comments, glacial rock shaped by chance, or something nobody's willing to fund a proper survey to rule out completely? This is the first case in our new Ocean Files. Subscribe to the Unburied, because the depths only get stranger from here.